I hate to be a bastard, but
Our next meeting, well, let me just get to our next meeting in June, and that is June the 18th. Don't yet know who'll be on the program, but I think I got some good ideas tonight that we might want to have our police, our area police department on it. Tonight we're going to talk about Tarrant County Hospital District, and I think most of you know JR from the time that she was with the Star Telegram and working here, but probably don't know that before the Star Telegram she was with the Dallas Morning News in Grand Prairie. And the most interesting thing that I've come up with, and I'm wondering how it was for her, she was one of the PR coordinators for Wrigley Brothers, Martin and Bailey Circus. That had to be something new, but hopping that, working with the Star Telegram with O.K. Carter, who was our speaker at our last meeting.
Oh, no, I would follow OK.
Yeah, you're following OK. Edna, is it Home or Hume? You worked with?
Edna?
Yeah, Hume. And Molly Ivins. You
Molly,
get those three together, and I want to have, that had to be quite a deal. But anyway,
That's a good one.
J.R. Labby is the Vice President for Communications and Community Affairs, if I got it correct. Been with the hospital district since 2012. I guess that's when you left the Star Telegram.
Yes, sir.
So she's going to talk to us about the hospital district. And she kind of corrected me when I talked to her on the phone. It's not just a charity hospital. It's a lot more. It has a lot more to offer. And I think we're all interested in it because it is a pretty good line item on our tax bill every year. So, J.R.
It will get your attention. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here this evening. I appreciate it. And it's great to see people I used to work with and I knew so well before. And I see Alva all the time because she's very active on our joint council at JPS, which is a group of interest groups from throughout the Tarrant County who come together about once a quarter, I think, we bring into the hospital. And they help inform how we provide great patient care, because many of the members of that council have been patients at JPS, or they're very interested in how we provide care to the community. So I get to see Elva quite often. So yes, a little bit about me. We do something at JPS called Aid It, which is you always introduce yourself and tell a little bit about, and the duration for how long we will be with the member, and thank you is always at the end. But I have been at JPS since August 6th of 2012. My last day at the Star Telegram was August 3rd of 2012. My mother was so upset that I was unemployed for 2 days. And I have thoroughly enjoyed this almost 6 years that I've been here. You know, most people feel blessed if they have a career that makes them happy, and I loved most of my 20 years at the Star Telegram. The last 3 were not so much fun, but the other 17 were great. But to find a second career that I find so rewarding and fulfilling, and that every day I get to go to work and actually see the faces of the people that we're trying to help. You know, when you're at the newspaper and you're writing editorials and columns, it was at a distance. I was happy to tell you what I thought and how the world should be run, but every day when you are in the halls at the hospital or in our clinics working with patients, it gives you a sense of, number one, how blessed you are and your life is, and that you can actually see the people that you hope you're going to make a difference for. Even though I'm not direct patient care, and if you're counting on me to save your life, you are going to die. But still, what we do in terms of communication helps them. So my team does all internal and external communication for the hospital, anything that's public or patient-facing that's not clinical. So I don't get involved in the clinical side, but from our website to our digital monitors to public affairs and working with crisis management when we have big stories, all of that comes out of my team. I've got 11 people on my team, and most of them are former journalists. I'm very comfortable working with them, and I think we do a good job, but more than that, I think we have a great time. I think most people only think about the Tarrant County Hospital District or JPS Health Network when it comes to tax time, because it is a line item on your taxes, along with the Tarrant County College District and the Water District and the city and the school and everything else that you are voluntold with taxes to pay every year. And I would probably wager that most of you know more about Parkland than you know about JPS, because you hear it in the news so much more. We are our community's safety net hospital. We provide care for those who do not have resources to go anywhere else. We serve vulnerable populations in the community. We serve the elderly and the homeless and the mentally ill. And our dedication to that kind of care is very much a reflection of the man for whom the hospital is named, and that's John Peter Smith. I don't think people know as much about him as I think he deserves, because some guy named Amon Carter came to town about 1906, and he was the showman, of course, and everyone knows about him. But John Peter Smith came to Texas as an orphan from Kentucky. He served in the Civil War. He was a student of ancient languages, and he was a surveyor, and he made his early business by being a land surveyor here in this area of North Texas. And he didn't insist on always being paid in cash. He was paid a lot in land, and he amassed a tremendous amount of property in Tarrant County, which he dedicated to mostly public causes: parks, cemeteries, libraries. He was the first mayor of Fort Worth, and he started a streetcar system and a public school and a water district. He was instrumental in starting the stockyards. He did all of this, and nobody knows who the guy was. But back before he was mayor, he donated 5 acres of land in a part of Fort Worth that was not developed back in the 1877s. But he wanted it to be used to provide medical care for those who had no other way of getting it. That was John Peter Smith's vision back in 1877. It is sort of interesting to me that it took a long time before that actually occurred. Tarrant County had a bond election for Will Rogers Coliseum before it had a bond election for a hospital district, which I find sort of interesting. But some of the ways that land, please replace the lamp. I may have to do this with help.
I'm meeting in here Thursday night, so I'm making a note of that, to have them change the lamp up there on the
Yeah, so I may have to
projector.
do this without my slides, folks, if it's not gonna.
It should be, you may have to just advance it on the keyboard
Yeah.
there.
There you go.
That's what
There,
I'll
there,
do.
yeah.
I'll walk back and forth then. So this gives you an idea of the history of John Peter Smith Hospital and how it dates back more than 100 years. The very first emergency hospital in Tarrant County was in Fort Worth in 1913, and it was called the City County Hospital. And it was 25 beds, and it was emergency only. That's what they took care of. It's now the McDavid Rehearsal Hall, part of the Bass Hall, and you can see above the door, it still has the plaque that says City County Hospital, which is very interesting. So it was 1937, actually, before the Fort Worth and county officials voted to approve the very first bonds that were used to match federal Public Works Administration grant to build a new hospital on the land that John Peter Smith donated on the south side of Fort Worth. So it's Main and Allen Street and the acreage in that area. And what you see there in that picture, if this works, this one, there are parts of that hospital which opened in 1939 that we still use today. So they've never torn down anything that's been built on that property. We just keep adding to it through the years. So throughout the 50s, there were numerous additions made on the hospital. By 1959, it was clear that this community needed a reliable source of funds in order to continue to care for the indigent in the community. And it was at that time that a public election created the Tarrant County Hospital District. and it authorized the assessment of ad valorem taxes in order to support the hospital. Well, this isn't working very well, is it? I keep losing it. 1985, well, 71, we had another expansion. I don't know why it keeps going on.
So, yeah,
Let's see what happens.
I told you it was going to be.
Yeah, you said it was contrary. So 71, we had another expansion, and that's where we got the 11-story patient tower that's on the west side of the campus now. And then 85 was when we built the Trinity Springs Pavilion, among other things. That's the last time we had a bond election was in 1985, so it's been more than 30 years since we've done so. And it built the Trinity Springs Pavilion, which is our inpatient behavioral health facility. It also built a new radiology suite and some other things at that time. Our most recent building on the main campus was opened in 2008. Well, we're gonna just not mess with this from now on. And that's our patient care pavilion. That has our emergency room, our trauma bays, our ORs, our ICU, and it is all across the street from everything else. So our campus is divided by Main Street in Fort Worth. Not the smartest thing to do, because we have to move people up and over depending upon what services they need. So it's not the most efficient campus in the room. Of course, charity care is not all that we do at JPS, and we will gratefully take you as a patient if you have insurance. I will be happy to come to your house and pick you up and deliver you. And I'll even do, I'll wash your car while you're in it. So we are this community's only level 1 trauma center. In fact, we're the only one between here and Lubbock. So it's a long way from here to West Texas. In fact, we got a cowboy in this weekend who was injured in a rodeo. We get lots of cowboys coming from out west who's with us right now. So trauma is one of those things that you don't count on it. You never know when it's going to happen, but when it does happen, your chances of having a better outcome or recovery go up every level that you go from a level 4 to a level 1. Level 1 means that 24/7, any kind of physician or doctor or specialty that you would need is on site at the hospital. Not 20 minutes out, not on call, but they are physically in the building 24/7. So that, of course, raises your chances. We also have to engage in research on trauma if you're a level 1. So we are the largest teaching hospital in Tarrant County, so it's a nice marriage between those residents and young doctors and the level 1 trauma. One of the areas that we have sort of distinguished ourselves is in geriatric trauma. It's called GT55. Because according to the trauma gurus, you're considered geriatric at age 55, which I throw the BS card on that.
Hey, there's no shame in aging.
There is
Don't
no
forget.
shame, Elma, and you're correct. But if you think about it, it's not just how you change with your physiology, but you change with all the medications that you may be taking as we age, which makes a big difference when they are trying to infuse you with the types of things that would save your life. It's very different how the body experiences that. And we are a part of an international study on geriatric trauma at JPS, which we find very interesting. To be level 1 trauma, you also have to do education and outreach. So we have a very innovative and creative young woman who goes out into the community and trains things on a matter of balance, or the faulty room, which helps people identify where there are fall risks within their home. We do something called Stop the Bleed, which is a training citizens who may be the first person at a traumatic accident of how to properly apply a tourniquet to save people from bleeding out, because that's where it happens. It's in those first few moments. If you've had cuts on, major cuts on legs and arms, to be able to stop the bleeding until we can get you to a trauma center. So that's one thing that distinguishes us from other hospitals. The other is, and you talked a little bit about it, Mary, when you were talking about what the commissioner is doing, we have the only psychiatric emergency center in Tarrant County at John Peter Smith. And mental illness is sort of society's great equalizer. Doesn't care how much money you have in your bank account or what kind of car you drive or where you live or how many letters you have behind your name because of what your education is. It can happen to any of us or people we love that at some point in your life something can go haywire or chemically in your body that you don't know who you are and you don't know what you're doing and you need help immediately. We're the only place in Tarrant County where law enforcement, who often are put in positions where they have to make a really horrible choice. There's somebody on their property who's behaving oddly and strangely. They may not be actually physically hurting anyone, but they are on private property or they are driving away somebody in a store and the cops come and they have two choices. You can arrest them, you can bring them to JPS. And the sad thing in this state is the largest mental health institution we have is the county jail. I don't know of anyone who's ever gotten any better